Fevers, runny nose, and coughs that keep you awake? It's that time of year again. Cold and flu season has arrived, and for most that means flu shots and medications. But there are natural ways to keep your immune system strong and sniffles away. And we're going to discuss that and more today at Sunflower Shop. Homeopathic remedies is one of the safest things you can do to fight the cold and flu season. Joining me today is Dr. Alex Bekker, a physician who specializes in the practice of homeopathic medicines. Thank you for being here today, Dr. Bekker.
I'm glad to be here.
Let me ask you, what is homeopathy?
Homeopathy is a system of medicine which uses natural substances to help the organism heal itself. Homeopathy has been around for over 200 years. It is actually the most common alternative medicine in the world. In fact, over the last 3 or 4 generations, the Queen of England has had as her personal physician a homeopathic physician.
So how can we use homeopathics for cold and flu season?
There are 2 ways which you can use homeopathic remedies for cold and flu. One is prevention. And in prevention, you would use either acylcoccinum, or you would use a remedy called gelsemium, or you would use a remedy called influenzinum as before you get the flu. So this would be to prevent getting the flu. The second way is once you get the flu. Once you get the flu, there are different remedies that can be used for the flu. The key to using those remedies is to match the symptoms of the flu that you have to the remedy itself, and that we can talk about a little bit later.
So if someone had flu-like symptoms, what would we do something like that?
Well, if they actually had the flu, then it depends on what their symptoms were. So if we can take as an example, we can take 2 different homeopathic remedies that are often used for the flu. So one of them is gelsemium, which is actually yellow jasmine. In yellow jasmine, the person who has the flu has a fairly severe form of the flu. It comes on slowly. The person wants to be quiet. The characteristic is wanting to be quiet. Extreme fatigue, can't lift up his eyes. Extreme dullness, cannot think straight. And a kind of achiness, usually achiness in the back, slight achiness, and trembling, often trembling with weakness. So that's one kind of symptoms of the flu. Another example would be a remedy like rus tox. Rus tox is actually poison oak. It's used safely in homeopathy. The symptoms for rus tox, the patient usually has extreme restlessness, has to move around, can't be still at all, just the opposite of the last remedy. The patient often has extreme generalized achiness, very achy, so achy that he has to move around, so achy that even the tongue is achy. And sometimes even the tongue is swollen and even has a redness at the tip of the tongue. These kinds of minute symptoms really tell us something about the remedy that's used. And also with rus tox, you have extreme intense feeling of heat on the inside, but when you touch the body, you feel cold to the touch. So you have these kinds of strong symptoms that give you indications for the remedy.
That's what I like about homeopathics, is that they're very specific in what you can do with them. Like someone comes in with a wet cough versus a dry cough. Mm-hmm. How would you treat that?
Well, you would look at all the other symptoms as well. So of course the wet cough would be different from a dry cough, but you would also look at the type of fever that they have. You would also look at whether they again, how they feel with that cough. Some people, when they cough, they get a headache. Sometimes they get a pain in the side while coughing. All of these other symptoms often determine the choice of the remedy.
So since it's almost the beginning of the year here, when cold season is really at its full bloom,
yes,
what are you telling people to do for prevention right now?
Well, with flu, as a form of prevention, we use either gelsemium, influenzinum. We also can use acylcoccinum. Usually my preventative treatment is taking, let's say if we take gelsemium, we take a 30C gelsemium in the evening, 1 dose, then another dose in the morning, and then repeat another dose in a week. And that gives you about a month and a half or 2 months of protection against the flu. And that's what we generally use.
Are there any contraindications with taking homeopathics?
There are really no contraindications for homeopathic remedies. You don't have interaction with other medications, like regular medications. We do have to be careful not to take remedies too often for chronic conditions. So chronic conditions often require an expert homeopath to treat them.
Dr. Bekker, what about allergies? For someone who comes in sneezing, what are we doing for that?
Well, for allergies, we do have acute remedies for allergies. For example, one of the remedies for allergies is a homeopathic form of onion, which is called Allium cepa. And this is a good explanation of how homeopathy works. So, for example, when you take a regular onion, you're cutting the onion. We very often will have runny nose, runny eyes, burning in the eyes. And these are some of the same symptoms you have when you have an allergy. Using onion for allergy symptoms is an example of a homeopathic treatment.
Well, Dr. Bekker, that's some great information. I really thank you for coming out today.
Thank you for having me.
If you want to learn more about homeopathics and which remedy is right for you, come see us at Sunflower Shop, where great health is just a way of life.